There we go.
You've tuned in to COVID Marketing with Brent Kobayashi and Arthur Tutt, the show to support small business not just to survive, but to thrive.
That's right. We are live with COVID Marketing episode number 60. The show to support small business. Hold on, I got it. Hold on. You say it.
The show to support small business, not just to survive, but to thrive.
Thank you. Week daily at Eastern Standard Time, 11:11. Holy cow. I'm like talking in Yoda speak now. If you have questions on marketing, business, or well, whatever, you let us know in the comments. I got to get through this really super quickly because quite clearly I am not quite got it together yet. I'm Brent Kobayashi, president of Kobayashi Zeitgeist, a marketing agency here in Toronto, Canada. And with me is Mr. Arthur Tutt, marketing specialist at the KZ, because we are an international company. We say it both ways. All right.
See, Brent, I believe people love watching us because of our realness and our authenticity.
Yes, I screw up specifically so you can connect with me. That's called.
It's all intentional. It's all intentional.
It's all fake authenticity, right? Why not? I'm sure. Actually, well, I mean, it's marketing. People seek that out. Like, as if you're going to shoot an ad or something like that and you want it to be authentic, it's probably, I know that many advertising briefs are, let's make this professional shoot that we're doing look authentic. And then they put in stuff to make it look authentic. So today, that was such good cappuccino. Everybody who's watching, you need to come down to the office once we're getting going, and there'll be cappuccinos for everybody. Rich is like an amazing cappuccino maker. So today we're continuing about creating video, specifically video that you plan to use in an ad campaign. We're mostly focused on Facebook. We might go somewhere else, at least at the moment for this show. If you want to check out what we covered last episode on this topic, jump back to episode 48. We'll put it somewhere in the show notes, or whenever we cut this down, we'll link it up. And today, Arthur, I believe we want to talk about the do's and don'ts of setting up your ad campaign video.
Yeah. So this whole episode is really going to be on how to plan your video and what to do with your video. But really, this is going to be a more advanced episode. I feel, getting into some of the more specifics of how to really fine tune and refine your approach.
Nice. And for all of you who love listicles, we're going to go into the 3 do's and don'ts of your video campaign.
Well, so our first listicle here.
Yes.
So we're going to be talking about the do's and don'ts of orientation, also known as aspect ratio with video.
Sounds interesting.
And so we're going to be talking about the format, but also the orientation of the video.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it. So what do you mean?
All right. So I think most people know, like when you're on YouTube and you're watching a video, it's typically going to be a widescreen video. And when you're scrolling through your Facebook feed, you might see a square video. It might also be a wide video. But then when you go to watch a story, like a Facebook story, an Instagram story, then it's going to be a tall format. So in brief, like the 3 main formats that we're going to be seeing here is going to be square. So that's like a 1-to-1 ratio. There's going to be wide, which is 16:9, and then tall, which is the reverse, which is going to be 9:16.
Gotcha. So if you have people talking with you in those terms, that's what they actually mean. Square, doing it this way, the way you often consume your, say, email or something on your phone, doing it this way, which is how you consume usually the YouTube videos. TikTok is the vertical one. Stories, typically the vertical one.
Right. And so that's something when a lot of people, when they go to film something, typically are going to default to a wide format, which then
it's almost actually age specific, because I grew up with the wide format. That's the only thing you did. You kind of had it squished in when it was the 4:3 TV format, as in 4 4 inches across by 3 inches high. That's what the ratio is, not specifically the inches. But you saw more and more and more and more videos being posted on platforms like YouTube in the vertical format, and it kind of doesn't look as good.
Right. And so that's one of the issues here is to, like, if you're looking at video from a broader picture, like let's say you want to go all out with your marketing campaign, right? And so you want to get in front of people on YouTube, you want to get in front of people on their Facebook newsfeed, you want to get in front of people on their LinkedIn newsfeed, but you also want to get in front of people on their Facebook stories and their Instagram stories, really cover everything. This is where you want to make sure that you're thinking ahead, think, okay, when I record this video, what placement is it actually going to be on, and planning that out ahead of time.
Well, more so, quite often, if you'll say, you'll create your ad, you'll upload it, and you say, put it in all these places. And, I'm going to throw it on Instagram. Yeah, I'll throw it up on stories, and I'll throw it on Facebook. I'll throw it on Facebook stories. And you don't realize that your ad format doesn't fit the format that it's natively being shown on, and people are consuming it. And so this is where you will want to either just do it because that's where you're at right now, and realizing it may be a little bit less effective, but put into your to-do list to make sure you get your vertical format, because that's usually the one a lot of people miss, so that you can run your ads specifically in the vertical format, in the native format, for that particular channel that you're wanting to advertise on.
Right. So the do here is to think ahead to, okay, where is this, when I record this video, what placement is it going to be on? And if it's specifically for a story, then think, okay, time to record this vertically. Now, if you want to get advanced with your video editing, one option would be to say record everything in wide, and you could edit it to be the format. That's one way to do it. But I feel a better way is to record it natively in the way that you want it to be shown.
Yeah. So I guess in summary, do it two takes. And I actually think, so right now, this is never 100%. Right now, something like Instagram stories is presumably a little bit more catchy than, say, other ad spots. And it's because if you notice, as you go through Instagram stories, you kind of have to get through the ad. It serves it up. And so you're actually waiting and watching. You're getting a few seconds of that person's time fully engrossed before they continue on with the stories. So it has a little bit more stickiness than, say, for instance, a Facebook ad, which is a little bit more rapid fire and you're going through it. And way more sticky than the Facebook ad on desktop, which is just sitting there on the right side and people aren't even paying attention to it. Like those types of placements are a little bit more like programmatic or banner ads, which I think people learn to ignore.
Banner blindness?
A lot of banner blindness going on there, yeah. So I guess what I'm saying is, I know that you're talking about being a little bit bigger or more sophisticated with your advertising campaign. I think it's actually a very near next step to working on these two verticals.
Mm-hmm. So should we get more in depth into the placements?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I guess the first thing to keep in mind with placements is, by default, Facebook is going to be using the automatic placements, which basically means Facebook then has free reign across Facebook, across Instagram, across their audience network, in news feeds, in the marketplace, in stories, in articles, in-stream videos, reward videos. It's a very extensive list. But basically, Facebook has a whole lengthy list of placements or inventory where an ad can get shown. And the default is just to do automatic placements. And Facebook does give you a little warning when you're in there to say, for the most efficient delivery, do automatic placements. And I sometimes question a little bit what exactly Facebook means by the most efficient delivery, because really the point that we're trying to get here is, once you get to this higher advanced level, you don't want to just do automatic placements, because one video might be specifically for a newsfeed, whereas a different video might be specifically for stories.
Well, I think what Facebook's doing is, if your video is 16:9 and it's this doesn't really fit a story, it'll get less effective use out of it, probably. In which case, it'll automatically start shifting your dollars to where you're being more effective. So, yeah, it's a good thing. It's like, don't, let them figure it out for you. But that doesn't mean that you aren't having an opportunity loss there, which you don't realize. You may just think, oh, stories kind of suck. It's maybe not the stories that suck. It's that your video doesn't fit that placement. So I could see automatic placements being good, but also at the same time, it doesn't tell you. I can see non-automatic placements. So if you actually did the 16, like the 9:16, the vertical, automatic placements would probably figure it out.
Right. And so one thing that you can do, because I think automatic placements is, say, the most user friendly, it's the most beginner friendly. So it's the easiest place to start. And Facebook does give you some breakdown of statistics. Like, it does show you, where did your ad actually show? Did it show on Facebook? Did it show on Instagram? Was it mobile? Was it desktop? And it'll give some breakdown that way. So one option would be to start with automatic placements and then review the data later and then figure out what you like and what you don't like. But I think really what we're talking about here is this next advanced level to say, okay, I know where I want this to show.
Yeah. And I also like the idea, it's not just the format that we're talking about, it's actually what the intention of the ad is. Like, think it through. One of the things that happens, especially with business owners, small business owners, actually even large businesses, where they're kind of tired, they don't want to post everywhere natively, is that you just get your piece of content and you broadcast it everywhere. And you're not thinking natively about what's going on the platform or the place you're posting. So what happens in a story is very different than what happens in a Facebook feed. And the way people interact with it and what they're expecting is very different. In a story, there's a lot more stickers, there's a lot more engagement, there can be polls, there can be all sorts of different things that you kind of want to understand. And your videos and how you communicate them should be different. Maybe it should be multiple videos. So when the person, it's not just one video, it's actually broken up so that it starts off the story and somebody says, I want to go next. It still goes to your next video shot in a story. So for those of you who aren't familiar with stories, first of all, check them out. But when you check them out, you'll notice that the idea of a story is you upload, a part of your day, and then another part of your day, and another part of your day. And when somebody's viewing that, they see that part of your day or whatever it is, they tap next, and it goes to the next part, tap next, goes to the next part. It's not really tapping next, it's tapping on the right side of the screen. Or just auto flows through it. And you can do that with ads too. But if you shoot your video ad and it's just your video ad, then when they tap next, they're just off your video ad, rather than the possibility of having what would be the next thing for people to see. And also, you can do things like encourage people to swipe up and engaging you further. We're getting a little bit too deeper in terms of what we're doing here. Sorry. But
you want to jump in?
The simple point is, you're starting to learn how to be native with your advertising, and that's partially format.
Should we jump in real quick and just show what the placement options look like?
Yep. Let's go for it. And what do you mean by placements?
So on Facebook,
you've already said that. Yeah.
So on Facebook, what are the different places they can go? So right now we're in the ad set level. If you remember from before, we've got the campaign level, the ad set level, and then the ad level. So the placement is chosen at the ad set level. And you can see that the default option, Facebook recommended, is the automatic placements. And here in this case, we've got the manual placement selected. And so what that lets us do is it lets us choose the device. Do we want it to be mobile? Do we want it to be desktop? We can choose the platform that we want it: Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, audience network. So you have a lot of different options there. And then this is the list of all of the specific different placements. And there's too many here to go through in too much detail, but you can see. So for example, what we have done here is we've said, okay, we want manual placements. It's going to be on mobile. It's going to be on Facebook only, and it's only going to be the Facebook newsfeed. That was the decision that we made here for this specific ad. Now, let's say you felt your audience was more Instagram based. You could say, okay, I don't want Facebook. I just want the Instagram newsfeed. There's other placements like the Facebook Marketplace, the Instagram Explorer. There's one option specifically for stories. So if you know, okay, this is just going to be a tall video. And just for reference, so Facebook gives you a little, shows you what it looks like, right? So you can see when you're looking at the stories, you've got the tall. When you're looking at the Facebook newsfeed, you can see it's more of a square photo that has some text around it. And so this gives you a sense of, okay, what does that placement actually look like? In-stream would be closer to YouTube when you're watching YouTube videos and there's an in-stream video that pops up.
Right
Facebook,
in the middle of it. Yep.
Facebook search, Messenger. So these are ads that show up in your Messenger inbox, in article, apps, and sites. So Facebook also has an extensive audience network as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, the equivalent of this is, if I were to put an ad, I'm going to talk to my generation now. If I were to put an ad in the Yellow Pages, it shouldn't be the same as a postcard that I deliver through mail. And it shouldn't be the same thing as what's on a billboard. And it shouldn't be the same thing as a flyer I put up, at the local metro. Like, all of those things are different formats. And you might have similar content in it, but you would format it differently and you make it like, I've seen so many billboards where that's basically what they did, and you can't read it because it's so freaking tiny.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So you have to, when you're doing these things, sure, you can let Facebook figure out what actually works for your ad, but you want to think, where's this ad going, and how can I maximize the attention that I'm doing there? Because otherwise, you're just throwing away a few pennies, dollars, and not focusing and not actually taking advantage of what's going on there. If something's going on in Marketplace, are you doing an awareness ad in Marketplace? Sure. Are you selling something specifically? That's what they're looking there for. That might be a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, and the other one to point out as well is, by default, it includes the audience network, which again is a little bit vague what that includes. But one of them is what's called a reward video. And this is basically when people are playing a video game, there's an option to earn rewards in the game by watching an ad. And so again, I feel like, as with everything, there's a way to optimize. So you could make an ad that was perfectly optimized for people in the midst of playing a game that speaks to those type of people in that headspace. But in general, chances are your potentially your ad could fall on deaf ears on that space, because they're like, I'm trying to play my game here.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to play the game. They're doing it for a purpose of this. Your numbers are going to be a little bit skewed because I need to watch this reward video for this. I've been through those reward videos, and you know what I do? I just put my phone down and I don't watch them, right? I'll do something else. I'll talk with somebody else. It's like, oh, this thing is going on here. Sure, there's some visibility, and depending on the campaign that you're doing, maybe it's more like a mass media awareness campaign. But you're not necessarily getting the highly engaged audience that you think you might be getting.
And so this is where it'd be interesting as well, because you have the option to break it down and choose specific placements. If you wanted to get really, really in-depth and analytical with this, you could set up a number of different campaigns. And again, we talked about UTM parameters before, and this is where that gets really important. Set up a whole number of different campaigns specifically targeted to each placement, and then see how your ad performs in that placement.
Yeah.
And then you have some real data, so you know what's working, what's not.
For sure. And also dig into it. Like, if a reward videos is the thing you want, keep in mind that the person is in the middle of playing a game, probably, maybe even like, I've had a stressful day, I just want to check out, all that kind of stuff. So if you're going to interrupt that, you got to make it I think you want to think about making it very quickly entertaining. something that's like, I'm going to want to watch this. This is going to be amusing. I am going to enjoy whatever it is that you're about to interrupt my game for, because this is what I'm in the middle of. I'm in the middle of wanting entertainment, not, check out my local dentist and stuff like that. It's like,
right. And so the thought I just had, and I'm not sure with the network whether you could get this specific, but let's just say the person was in the middle playing Minecraft, right? If you came up with an ad and say, hey, look, I know you love Minecraft, and I just came up with a, tutorial walkthrough of like, here's how to do the XYZ and build the largest whatever, and it spoke to that person in that moment, then it might actually work. But I think
awesome.
we're probably getting too deep into the weeds here.
A little bit.
Just to quickly recap. So don't put up an ad and just accept the automatic placements. We would say do go through, review, figure out based on your format, pick the right placement that applies for you. And I think the easiest place to start is just to choose the news feed and choose a wide video.
Yeah. And do think about the format that you are delivering it in the place that you're delivering it in, and think, what is that person doing? So it goes back to, remember when we talked about, if you're going through the news feed very fast, you want to immediately position it within 1 second. This is for parents. This is for dentists. This is for whoever it happens to be, so that they can quickly understand, oh, that's for me. I think I might watch a little bit more of this video.
So last point, should we get into captioning?
Yeah, very quickly.
So something to keep in mind is when somebody's scrolling through their Facebook news feed, the videos are going to start silently. They will start playing automatically, but they'll be silent. Some people will have the volume on, but assume that most people won't have the volume on. And so this is where having captions is really important.
Yeah, a ton of people, I do it. They watch they read their video. So they'll come on and they'll play. And if they're really getting into it, they might click the sound on and continue with it. But you want to get the gist. If you've caught their attention a little bit, they will want to get the gist of the video with probably sound off to start. Mm-hmm. And Facebook has a captioning feature.
Yeah, so that is something that is really cool about, or powerful about Facebook, is that it comes with an auto-generating caption feature. Now, it's not perfect. It's pretty good. It's surprisingly good, but it is not perfect. Would it be worth just jumping in to show people what that kind of looks like? Really quickly?
Really quickly.
All right, let's jump back into...
And the point of the matter is, don't actually go too quick with boosting your campaigns. Like, before you add your captions, check if your captions are correct. Like, don't rush through this part of it. Yeah. Sorry, I'll say that two ways. One is, if you're not going to get to it and it's like, I'm not going to have my captions, and you get into delaying by weeks, just go for it. I believe. But you want to check this one off first as you go through your process. And so get the captions going and then start boosting it.
Right. And so here, just as an example, so here's one of our videos, and you can see it playing with captions. One actually a little detail to keep in mind as well is, because sometimes people will put banners at the bottom of their video. Just be aware that when you put in captions, they by default go at the bottom. So if you have logos, if you have banners, if you have text that in the video you've edited to be there, those may clash. Just to be aware of that.
Yeah, and generally, although it's common to actually put captions in the video, as in it's part of the video screen, just like, my wall back here is just part of the video. The captions that Facebook adds are actual text captions. And that's actually good, because it's actually a lot more accessible. It is more than just visual reading. You can actually extract the text, and you can turn them off and on, so people can turn them off and on. So from an accessibility perspective, it's actually better to use the caption.
And just to show real quick, so once you've got your video up, you got the 3 dots beside it, and you just edit post. And from within the post, one of the options here is subtitles and captions, recommended. And there's an option to auto-generate. Once the captions have been generated, you can review and edit, which means you can go in to the actual text editor once this very slowly loads.
You got way too many tabs open, dude.
This is after I closed a lot. But so from here, the video is going to open, and then you see they've got time-stamped pieces of text. And so this is where you can go through and you can manually edit as necessary.
Very sweet. Very, very, very sweet.
Very slick.
Yes.
And yeah, as I said, Facebook is pretty good by default at auto-generating captions, but it is not perfect. So do go through and check them. I recorded a little while back a video about Oliver Sacks, and I'm not going to say it live on the air, but Facebook had misinterpreted what I said.
All right. Facebook has a dirty mind. Okay.
Actually, I saw one too recently where somebody tried to say headline, and the auto caption came out and said Hitler. I was like, that seemed like a bit of a stretch.
All right. Dirty mind,
so yes,
and perhaps a fascist. Dirty mind and fascism. Awesome. Good. Okay, so what are our do's and don'ts? Let's summarize them, and then we're good.
The don't is don't post your video without captions, and the do is absolutely do get your captions up, and absolutely do review and edit, because sometimes Facebook does get it wrong, and sometimes it gets it inappropriately wrong.
Good. And we've got a do, as in do actually sort through your placements, as in where the ad is going to go. Don't just go by default and throw it up there. Do restrict it and figure out where would this best be put, and what is that person doing with where you're putting it, and try to see if you can get into their minds of what they're in the middle of doing. So you want your ad to be most effective in that placement that you're doing, because it can go a whole bunch of different places. It might think, oh, it's just Facebook. It's not. It is a lot of different things. What else? We have one more. Formatting,
yep. Making sure is it wide, is it square, is it tall? Does that fit with where it's going to be placed?
And does the content of what you're doing fit those things? Right. So is the format, and is the aspect ratio, and is the orientation, is the video that you're doing suit that orientation? I kind of look at it from that perspective. Get a little bit into the eyes of a cinematographer. There we go. All right.
Shout out to David Blackmore for sticking with us and liking the accessibility aspect of this.
Yeah, totally important. Very, very important. Okay, and I believe we are done. Okay, let's go out.
Oh, not sharing audio.
Oh, right.
Still
usually, let's go out. There's a little bit of a quiet pause, and you're like, we're not going out. We're not there yet. Okay. Here we go. Once again, we will go out.
You've tuned in to COVID Marketing with Brent Kobayashi and Arthur Tutt, the show to support small business not just to survive, but to thrive.
That's right. That's our end of episode number 60, all about the video stuff on Facebook. Tomorrow, we have Kill the Guru episode 4, and I believe we have a new guest coming on, Cassandra. She's an entrepreneur. She's going to be talking about a new venture she's thinking about, her wine and cheese pairing app. So join us. We're going to dig into the details. We're going to see what we're going to do with this. I'm really super excited about this. I know a little bit of what she's thinking, and I think there's a real possibility that she is onto something. But the question is, what does she do next? She came to me asking, how much would it cost to do this app? And my first thought was, oh God, I do not want you to be another person that invests 20, 30, 40, 50, 75,000, $150,000 in an app when there's other things to do first, in my opinion. So join us tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting episode. Love you greatly. And Arthur, take us out.
Got it.